Welcome to part 2 of the Give Me God of War tutorial, the hardest mode for the new God of War game. And I'll be explaining what I do for this fight. To start off with, don't follow my steps here because for some reason I thought I had to fist fight this guy, which makes it about twice as long. So, use your axe. I would suggest not using your fist for this. Aside from that, though, you can follow the same type of attack patterns that I use here, which is basically, keep attacking him and parry his moves whenever you can. And when he does that wave move, dodge to the side. It's very easy to dodge. And I think that's the combo that would get me sometimes, is he gets these sucker punches in sometimes, which can make him kind of difficult. See, I took a hit there that almost killed me. But sometimes he gets in these sucker punches behind me, which they don't do that much damage, but after a few of them you will die. So it does add up since the fight can be long. So what I did was, instead of trying to parry every move that he does, you see, I held my shield out that time and let him do his full combo instead of trying to parry every attack. And what that did is, by having my shield facing the proper way, I think I got sucker punched there again. See, that's what I was talking about. But by having my shield facing him, you can just let him do his punches into your shield because you can block every punch. So you don't have to worry about trying to, parry one of them. You can just, when he does that series, just hold out your shield. Sometimes I will parry them, but I tried to be more patient when he does that combo and just hold out my shield and let him punch into the shield. And then, hit him after he finishes that series. See, it's a 3-punch series. Now, I interrupted it that time, but I was trying to be careful with keeping my shield facing him, because if he gets behind you, he will do that sucker punch, and it will eventually wear down your health and kill you. That was the only part that I was really having trouble with initially on this fight, was he was getting those sucker punches, and I was dodging everything else, but those sucker punches ended up killing me since the fight takes a while. I left in these little cutscene transitions between phases because otherwise, if I edited it all together, I think it would be confusing to know which phase of the fight it was on, since the fight is very similar in each phase. He may add 1 or 2 new moves, but that's it. It's pretty much the same shit repeated 3 times. And this fight, I'd say it took me a little bit under an hour to beat, maybe between 40 minutes to an hour. Somewhere around there. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be really hard because on normal I didn't have to worry about really, putting much effort into it. But yeah, it wasn't bad. So now for the second phase, after all this shit is done, you'll see I finally figure out that I can take out my axe and fight him. Because I checked a video on it to see if I was, if there was something I could be doing better. Because the sucker punches I didn't really know how to dodge. And the video didn't really show me that, but it did show me that, I didn't really gather that from the video how to dodge those, but I just ended up holding out my shield when he was doing a series of punches and it worked. But what I did see in the video was that the player was using the axe, and, for some reason, like I said, I thought I had to fist fight the motherfucker, and I didn't realize that, you can use your axe. I thought that was part of the cinematic, they're having a fist fight or some shit, like part of the story. But that's not the case, so, because the game unequips the axe, so that made me think that I couldn't use it for some reason. I guess I should have questioned that. But yeah, after all this shit is done, you'll see I finally do pull out the axe, and that makes this next phase go a lot faster as far as the damage. It does about twice as much damage, I think, so it makes a big difference. But now, for the first part of this, they give you enough rage mode to where you can just punch the shit out of him until about half of his health is gone. So, use that. The rage mode does home in on the boss. So, basically, just make sure you're facing him. Sometimes he gets obscured by the trees and I don't see him exactly where he's at because he moves fast. But basically, just don't worry about dodging. Just keep hitting because it doesn't really seem like you take damage when you get hit. So, just punch the shit out of him. When his health gets down to maybe about 3 health bars remaining, it seems like then the rage meter will start to drain. But if you get in enough hits, you should have him down to about 2.5 bars of health remaining after all the rage is gone. Prior to those 3 bars being left, it doesn't seem to drain at all. So, you can just, you have as much time as you need to get his health down. The real fight begins now. Now that the rage is gone, now you have to fight him normally. What I would actually suggest doing is go straight to the third phase of my video. Go to the third phase of the fight. I'll include the timestamps for each phase. And skip straight to the third phase if you want to have the best strategy that you can use probably for the whole fight. It should work. Because on the third phase, I figured out yet another trick that I could... I didn't realize that the R2 move would launch the enemy in the air. It's a basic fucking thing, but in normal I didn't have to think about shit like that, so I didn't. But, yeah, basically, if you use your R2 swing, you can get him up in the air immediately, and you can hit him with your regular R1 shots while he's in the air and do a lot more damage. So I would say, go to the third phase of the fight and just use that tactic that I used there for the whole fight. Of course, they'll be a little bit different because he has a few extra moves, but it'd pretty much be the same tactic. And I suggest, that's what I would suggest for the whole fight to make things easier. But yeah, basically this is just, the same thing of just parrying and holding out your shield when he's doing that combo so that he doesn't get those sucker punches on you. Just make sure it's facing in the direction of him, because I think that's what was fucking me up. He would get those sucker punches in on my back because he can get around you kind of fast, so you got to be careful with that. But it's pretty easy once you have it down. And after all this shit, you'll be taken to the third phase. And that's where you'll see I end up using the launching move with the axe, which is a much better way to fight him. So yeah, it took me to the third phase to actually, fight him more efficiently using the launcher move. And actually using the fucking axe. It was kind of stupid to just try to punch him to death. But for some reason I was fucking stubborn. I didn't think much about it. I just kept trying to do it. And it did make it so that I learned his patterns a lot better, having to fight him for like twice as long. But, not recommended. Really don't need to do that. But yeah, let's see. It begins fairly soon after all this shit. Yeah, once the third phase starts, like I said, there's not going to be much change to the strategy. It's pretty much the same fight. He'll have one more move where he jumps in the air and pounds into the ground, and you just want to keep your distance when you see him launch in air. Just roll out of the way, get some distance between you and him. And then when he lands, he'll get stuck in the ground, and then you can get some hits on him while he's stuck. That's mainly the only move that he really adds. Occasionally, he will get you in some kind of grappling move when you have your shield out, where he's hitting your shield, and I just hold down the block button and mash the attack button, and it usually just it throws him off of you. So there is that move that he does sometimes. That's how you avoid that. If I see it here, then I'll point it out, but you'll probably know if you've played this fight. You'll be aware. But there's not much more to it than parrying his attacks and keeping your shield out when he does that series of 3 attacks. And, of course, dodging to the right when he does his waves. But now he adds another move of going up in the air and then coming down on the ground and doing like a power wave. So, yeah, now you'll see me finally figure out that I can launch the guy with the R2 axe attack. It's just a strong axe attack. It's, not hard to figure out, but I just didn't realize. So what I do is I'll hit him initially with a regular R1 strike just to stun him for a split second, and then I'll use my strong launcher attack. And the reason I do that is because if you start off with the launcher attack, it's slower, so there's a lot of times that he'll get away. So I like to at least start off with one or maybe a few regular axe swings with R1, and then add in the R2. That's the grapple I was talking about, I think. Or that's one of them. He may have 2 different kind of grapples that he does. I'm not sure, but yeah, I start with the regular attack, then I do the launcher attack, which is R2, the heavy attack. Once he's in the air, just bang on him with the R1, and get a bunch of his health gone. It works very well. So you launch him, hit him a few times with R1, and try to do that whenever you can. Also, you can sometimes start with the R2 attack. When he's stuck in the ground, you can start it off with R2 because it takes him a while to recover from that. So, there are times when it is safe to start off with R2. But most of the time, I start off with a regular attack. See, I started off with the launcher there because he was stuck in the ground. But most of the time, I start off with just a regular hit, and then I'll follow it up with the heavy attack that launches him. And of course, if he does anything, you have to either dodge or parry, or if it's the series of attacks, hold out your shield in the direction of the attacks and let him punch the shield 3 times instead of trying to parry it. It's safer. But, of course, depending on your confidence with the fight, you can always improvise. But these are just what I felt was safer way to play it if you're having trouble. But yeah, that's it for this fight. This fight is now over officially, so it's not too bad, but hopefully that explained in detail if you're having some trouble with some of the small details. I try to cover what worked. But yeah, not too bad. I thought maybe this fight would be extremely difficult, but I wasn't sure what to expect, but it wasn't too bad for me. But actually, the next fight after this against a regular group of enemies is way harder than anything else I've played in the game so far. So I may have to retract what I said about this not being as hard as God of War 2. I think I need to, on Titan, I think I need to actually play through this mode before I give a real opinion on that, because I don't know how the enemy arrangements are going to be later on, and I really don't know what to expect because the arrangements of enemies are very different in this. So I guess I won't talk shit about this difficulty yet until I've actually played it more and gotten through the whole thing. So I may have to retract that. We'll see how hard it gets. But the next encounter is very hard. And hopefully I'll have that beaten soon and I can provide some detail on that. So thank you for watching, and I'll try to have that up soon.